This is what 280 pounds of steel wrapped in a little small shirt looks like.
More like a bacon-wrapped corn dog.
Welcome to episode 2 of our new podcast entitled, what is it, Phil?
War never changes.
That's right. I'm Jim, and over there is Phil. We're doing this via Skype. So if there's any weird audio quality issues or graphical issues, we apologize in advance. But the content is definitely worth it. And today we're going to be talking all about the Xbox Series X first look that was unveiled today on Inside Xbox. Now, I already did a separate video reaction on this on my channel, but it was about this big, and I got this beautiful tweet from Mr. Phil over there that said, I have plenty of shit to talk, but we should also pick 3 games that we saw and are most excited for, excluding Assassin's Creed. But before we get into that, Phil, I want to know, what did you think of this whole presentation as a whole?
I thought it was cool. I thought that the games that they put up looked really interesting. It was like a nonstop horror fest, and I'm not a big horror genre fan, but I can appreciate that that's a growing segment within the community. And I feel like they mixed in some AAA studios, some huge studios, in with some smaller, lesser-known studios with some really cool projects. I think that they did an okay job. It's just when the Xbox employees were talking that I was cringing. They're just so media, I don't know, muted shells of a human being with only media-friendly phrases pre-programmed. I don't know. I'm not into that. But when the actual developers were talking, you could see that they were normal humans, and it made me feel a little safer.
So you weren't a fan of Aaron Greenberg's potato camera at the beginning? Okay, that guy makes, I don't know how much, a lot more than me, probably a lot more than me and you combined, multiplied by some number. And he had the shittiest camera I've ever seen in my life. And it just was grainy, and he was all distorted. And I was like, this is your figurehead. This is your, vice president of communication or whatever hell he is. Like, can't you buy this guy a decent webcam?
Or, just go pick one off the production line because you're Microsoft.
Or have an engineer build you one or something. I agree. So I have a little different take than you. I don't know if you got a chance to watch what I talked about earlier, but I
specifically didn't watch it so that it
I'm
wouldn't
glad.
influence the conversation.
I'm glad I can look you in your beautiful eyes, or my graphical representation of where your beautiful eyes are, and tell you that I thought it was a major letdown.
I didn't have any expectations going into it. So here's the thing, Jim. You know so much more about video games and what's on the horizon than I do, that yes, it's a disappointment for you, but I didn't know about most of these projects that they were talking about, especially like Scorn. Scorn came out of nowhere for me. Scorn and The Ascent came out of nowhere. I had no bearing on what to expect. So for me, almost everything was a surprise, so I could just sit back and enjoy it. But you had more expectations than I did, I think.
I agree with you 1,000%. For me, I got really hung up on the word gameplay, and I didn't feel like we saw gameplay. I felt like we saw a lot of trailers and teaser reels, but I didn't see actual gameplay, and I thought that was the big distinction, in my opinion. That's, I think, where it went off the rails.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they suckered us all in with the word gameplay, and then when you got there, it was all captured in engine or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever that stupid qualifying tag word was. Those were cinematic trailers. I don't care how they try to slice it. That was not actual gameplay. It was not representative of what actual, normal, everyday gameplay is going to look like, I should say.
Do you think... See, it's funny because I get into the nuts and bolts of this stuff. Right after they released their YouTube video, it was downvoted to hell. I mean, significant, 30,000 downvotes to 4,000 or 5,000 upvotes. And what they did was they pulled the YouTube video and re-uploaded it to try to get a better calibration. And once people found out about it, they started downvoting it even more. Yeah, baby. So
not be silenced.
We will not be silenced. We will thumbs down. Well, but I guess my point is I didn't feel like I was in the minority. And I know that there is a vocal minority on social media, whether it be Twitter or Facebook, whatever. But I think a lot of people felt the same way I did in terms of there was a lot of trailers. And let me ask you this question. Did you are you planning on buying a Series X at launch?
Yes,
Did this get you more excited, less excited, or no change?
no change whatsoever. I am. I'm just a. I'm just a fanboy, man. I buy the new consoles when they come out because I want to check them out. I didn't know that much about the Nintendo Switch when I bought it. I didn't do a whole lot of research. I liked the Wii and the Wii U. Well, I liked the Wii so much, and then the Wii U to a slightly less degree, so much
One of
that
the two.
I just trusted them. And now I love the Switch and the PlayStations are just when a new PlayStation comes out, I buy it because there's eventually going to be a God of War or a something that I'm going to want to play. And when the new Xbox comes out, I buy it because there's going to be a new Halo or something that I'm going to want to play. And that's just, it is what it is.
I think that Microsoft is very uniquely positioned right now. One, because I think Phil Spencer has done such a good job of really promoting the brand and getting ahead of everything. And two, because Sony, for whatever reason, has said nothing. So this is really Microsoft's race to lose, essentially. And I feel like anything they show or do right now puts them so much farther ahead of their competition. And I just, hearing you say it didn't really do anything for you, I'm one of those people that's on the fence. This didn't sway me either way. And I think that it's Microsoft's, I don't want to say obligation, but during this really unique time where Sony has still said nothing, they need to speak up.
You say you're on the fence. The week, within a week of it launching, you will have one. You will. Either Rachel will go out and buy it for you, or you will do it yourself, just so that you can have it. I cannot imagine you not having it. You're such a liar. You're so full of crap. You know you're going to go get it just to have it.
There's part of me that agrees with you, but there's a big part of me that said those beautiful brooding eyes. But I'll tell you what, there's so many with the crossplay now, with everything launching day and date on computer. My computer is light years ahead of whatever the Series X is going to be. I just know it is. It's going to be hard for me to sway back into a console environment.
Okay. Okay. That's a totally legitimate point. You've got so many options, and the best option is probably that $4,000 rig you have sitting in front of you. But you're full of shit. You're going to buy it. You're going to buy it, Tim. And the only reason you won't buy it now, it would be out of spite.
Yeah. That's it. Now I'm going to secretly buy one and never tell anyone, and I'm going to delete this episode. I don't know. This Phil guy, he's a liar. I never.
I love it.
All right. So, I mean, yes, I am definitely, obviously, a super fan when it comes to gaming. The whole house is decorated in video game stuff. I'm sure at some point I will get it. I just don't feel like it's at launch. And I feel like this is really Microsoft's opportunity right now to really just stick a dagger in there. And I just feel like this fell flat. I hope that next month or the month after, it's done a little bit differently, and I feel like it would get a little more positive buzz generating around it.
Let's give them the opportunity to tell us more about it and to talk about some bigger titles, and I think that will sway you. I think in the end you're going to eventually get swayed, whether or not it's an inevitability that you're going to buy it. I think, well, you are a pretty fair and balanced evaluator. No, I think that they'll do enough. I think that there will be enough released where you will organically shift more towards yes, this is a relatively small investment, and it's going to be a content creator for your channel. It's going to be a content creator for this channel, and it's going to allow us to team up and do some pretty cool stuff. So I think that you're going to get swayed. And if you're not quite sure at launch, I'll buy it. We can Skype. We can go through the features together. We can explore the console together. We can take a look at it, and you can see for yourself.
That sounds very reasonable. So some facts, and then I'll kick it over to you for the first one. There were 13 game announcements. Ran about 27 minutes or so, give or take, with a little bit of chatter at the beginning. Definitely the highlight of the show, the one that they kept teasing throughout the entire thing, was Assassin's Creed. I think 4 different times they mentioned coming up Assassin's Creed, and then they had a bonus thing at the end. Did you watch that? I didn't. I turned it off after that.
So they did the bonus thing with Assassin's Creed developer, the guy who was representative from that studio, and then they went into Dirt 5, and I was like, and it started getting like choppy because I think so many people, it was a mass exodus, and
Oh.
when it got choppy, I left.
Was the Assassin's Creed thing just developer talk about concepts and they didn't show anything new, right? It was just
No,
basically rehashing
they
the same minute of footage or whatever.
basically they were ensuring you that this was I don't want to say lore because they actually existed, but this was true to the reputation of Vikings, except they didn't ever mention like the whole man, do we really, I don't they didn't really talk about like they talked about pillaging and stealing, but there's one other word that's typically associated with Vikings and their conquests that
And they didn't
they didn't
they didn't
mention
talk
that
about it.
once. So,
Passionate loving,
yeah, yeah.
one-sided loving. I understand. Okay. So, all right. So, what the reason we gathered here today, one, because I love talking to you, but two, as I read earlier, your tweet of giving out 3 ideas of 3 games that weren't Assassin's Creed that we just were really floored by. And since it was your idea, I'd like you to go first and tell me what your number 1 pick was.
I wouldn't say that I was really floored by any of these games as a qualifier, but
Oh, interesting.
these are games that got me excited and that I would buy at launch. And in
Okay.
no particular
Okay.
order whatsoever, just the first one on my list, I'm going to say Bright Memory Infinite. The trailer that I saw, I thought this is kind of reminiscent of like a dark setting in like a Battlefield game because the head up on the rifle that he was using just looked really familiar to some other first person shooters that I've seen. And then he threw the assailant up in the air, stopped him, like whipped him with some, I don't know, some sort of magic whip, and then cut him in half with a sword. I was like, where's this guy getting the third hand for a sword? He's got the whip in one hand, the gun in the other. Now he's cutting him in half. Is this guy like Machamp? He's got 4 arms. But no, I was super excited about that. It looks beautiful, and it's really interesting because supposedly, I call bullshit on this, but supposedly it's made by one guy in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting too. And I'm assuming you never played the game called Bulletstorm. Have you heard of that game?
I have heard of it. I never played it.
This looks exactly like Bulletstorm. It's by a studio called People Can Fly, and that's definitely not one person. And that guy, the development studio behind that, has this thing where you shoot out that energy whip and pull enemies towards you. You slow down time, so that gives the impression that they're floating in the air. And you do all sorts of gun tricks to kill people, push them into spikes or shoot their head or shoot their leg or whatever. And you get points on how stylish you kill somebody. And I really thought this was that game. And I was like, oh, this is Bulletstorm 2. This is awesome. And then total left field, it goes off with this dude in a closet. I'm like, wait, what? I don't know if he's going to get sued by Bulletstorm or what, but this was very reminiscent of it. But I agree with you. It was definitely an interesting game. It had some driving mechanics in it. It seems like it's going to be a little bit of everything. I just hope they can pull it off, or he can pull it off, I should say.
Yeah, and that was I don't know who the true developer is, but it's being published by FYQD Studios.
Look at you doing your homework. I'm proud of you. I'm really proud
Thanks.
of you. You Googled that, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So I actually ranked my list, and I'm going to give you my number 1 pick, and it was Call of the Sea. It was about halfway through. It's by a studio called Raw Fury, and the only reason I say that, do you have Game Pass? I can't remember.
I do.
And oh, that's right, but you never use it.
I actually used it today. Overcooked 2's on there, so I downloaded it.
I'm so proud of you. To me, Raw Fury is the studio. I call them the weird Game Pass company because every game that they release is on Game Pass. Dandara, Kingdoms, New Lands, Goner, Bad North, all of these games are by Raw Fury. And I was like, here we go. As soon as I saw the title, I showed the title, it said Raw Fury, and I go, oh, this is going to be Game Pass game. And then about half a second later, it popped up, coming on Game Pass. I'm like, no shit. Everything else you got is on Game Pass. But it reminded me a lot of Sea of Thieves, this kind of a first-person exploration game. Seemed to have some puzzle elements to it. They kind of emphasized it took place in the 30s. I don't think that matters if you're on a tropical island. But what did you think about that one?
It's funny because that was actually number 3 on my list, and then I had a little bit of an internal debate because I ended up with a list of 6 total games, and then I had to find the top 3 that I was most excited about because I didn't want to augment what we were doing hours after I mentioned the idea. Unfortunately, it got edged out, but I'm gonna say right now I will likely buy that game, and I will probably enjoy the shit out of it.
I just hope that I know you haven't played Sea of Thieves, but there's only so much you can do with this kind of piratey exploration. I'm not saying this game's gonna have anything to do with pirates, but it was just very reminiscent of these tropical abandoned islands with skeletons and this kind of monsters that you're gonna face. I don't even know if there's combat in this game, but I hope that the puzzle element is taken a little farther than the Sea of Thieves puzzle element because there's really not a lot there. And I also wonder too, since I know what the other games this company has made, I kind of feel like this is going to be one of those games you beat in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
It
that was
could
my number one for sure.
Yeah, and to me, even though it's not like hypercharged, super realistic graphics, that graphical style and the way that it was presented, combined with what the power that we know this machine's going to have, it
Yeah.
looked beautiful to me. It looked really cool, and it looks like an engaging storyline, and I can't wait to check it out with you.
All right, sounds good. And what is your next pick? In no order, I understand.
Of course. In no order, my next pick is Vampire, the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2. Almost purely off the strength of how hard I was laughing at this trailer. I mean, the Donkashane, like, Christmassy music thing was going on. This guy's dancing around with people strung up by their cheeks.
That was
I
creepy.
just,
That was creepy.
well, you know, I
But
say I'm
fun.
not a fan of
Creepy.
yeah, I'm not a fan of the horror genre or whatever, but this looks like it's going to be a lot of that mixed with some lighthearted humor, and that's a recipe for success in my book.
Okay, see, I didn't get necessarily the humor aspect, which is interesting when they do these story trailers because they only have, maybe a minute or so to kind of capture your interest, kind of explain something about the game, and kind of, sell it. It seemed like everyone was just a psychopath. I mean, the way like you're dancing in a club with this girl and she just bites you like right in the middle of the club, not even like takes you out back or like in the car ride home. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it did seem interesting. I noticed it was Bloodlines 2. I've never played or heard of the first one.
Me
So I
either.
have no idea what this. I don't know if this is a continuation. Should I go back and check out the first one? I have no idea.
Yeah. I think Bloodlines, forgive me, 1 does actually exist. I just never heard of it.
Yeah, I did a little research on it earlier to read about it, and it seems like it has okay views. I don't feel like it's something I would necessarily pick up to play or anything, but I was surprised that the original one was called Vampire the Masquerade, and it came out a long time ago, 2004.
Oh,
So
okay.
this isn't like something that, this is like a franchise that like died and then died again, and then like a vampire, I guess, was risen up to like continue on again. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine people are like, no, yeah, Vampire too. Like that crowd is long gone.
Yeah. I was busy in 2004 with like Saints Row and Super Mario Sunshine.
Time for vampires, bitch. Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the last remaining Metroid hopefuls that we're going to get another Metroid game, and I've almost given up hope at this point. So I can't imagine from 2004, like, you almost have the Half-Life 2 people beat.
Yeah, I was gonna say Half-Life 3. It's coming, buddy. It's coming.
Any day now. The next game on my list, and I'd be shocked if it wasn't on yours, was Second Extinction.
It is on my list.
Okay.
It is on my list.
It's funny you mention Saints Row because that's one of the other developers I'll talk about in a minute. But this is by Avalanche Studios. Did you ever play the Just Cause series?
No, and it always looks so cool, and I always wanted to try it, and then I never bought it. I bought other stuff instead.
So Avalanche Studios proper They have a bunch of spin-off companies, but they made Just Cause. They made the Rage game that just came out last year, Rage 2 from Bethesda.
Hmm.
They were the developers of that, and they also made Mad Max. So kind of different views of what they work on, but yeah, anything with dinosaurs catches my interest because we don't have a lot of dinosaur games just in general. But what really caught my eye was doing a little more research after it, finding out that it's a three-person
Yes.
co-op game against dinosaurs. It looks like there's loot drops and there's mutated dinosaurs on this weird planet. It just looks like, it kind of reminded me of like Destiny in a sense, where you're just going to jump in with your friends and just shoot stuff. And I'm okay with that kind of mindless fun.
Yeah, it looked like Destiny 2 with dinosaurs. And that was actually in the press snippet that I read. And they kind of alluded to, so I guess the main premise of the game is, humanity had to escape. They're off on like some orbiting thing or something like that. They're up in space basically, and then you and two buddies come down. But then it said, and the group gets larger later on in the game. So I'm wondering, maybe as you progress through different areas, your party can get bigger and you can have more friends, or maybe they'll be NPCs. I'm not sure.
Or potentially it's got raid mechanics where it's like Destiny, where you have to do like a 5 or a 6-man fire team where you have to put a lot of people together. I don't know, but that'd be my guess.
Yeah.
If it's definitely using Destiny as a source of inspiration, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Did I blow up your list by revealing my third pick and you have nothing else to reveal? Or do you want to go to your alternate list?
No, I haven't done my third yet.
Well, I thought you said your third was Second Extinction.
No. I said it's on my list. I have 6 games here on my list.
Oh, I keep forgetting you don't have a ranked list like my engineering mind. Okay, I'm sorry. Please, I would love to hear your third.
I feel very comfortable putting this in order. I would say my number 1 pick is Bright Memory Infinite. Number 2, as described, is Bloodlines 2. And my number 3 that I feel comfortable numbering and saying number 3 is Chorus.
That's my great minds think alike. That's my third pick as well. What made you so excited about Chorus?
I saw her. I don't know that much about the protagonist, the main protagonist, the young lady, and her sentient starship there. What was its name? The Forgotten? I think its name is Forgotten or something like that.
The ship's name is the Forgotten, and her name is Nara.
So Nara. I'm not typically drawn to female lead characters in video games. I don't know what it is. Okay. I always gravitate towards wanting to play as a male because I'm a male, and I have no problem with strong female characters. I've grown up with strong female video characters my whole life, but I saw this girl and I wanted to hear her story. I wanted to see what was going on. I want to know what her story is. I want to know what she's into. Also, it looks like she blew up a planet, so I'm pretty excited to pilot that ship. So it looks like it's going to be super badass, and I see something that looks super badass, and I want to try it out, man, woman, or whatever.
So we mentioned Saints Row a minute ago. This is by Deep Silver. These are the people that made Saints Row, the Metro series, and Dead Island. So those are all series that I really like. I think Metro, I don't know if you played Metro or not before.
No.
There's 3 or 4 different Metro games. It's based on a book, so it's not really their original source material, but it's very dark. I don't just mean like it's hard to see. I mean the content is very dark. So you go the exact opposite. Saints Row was very bizarre. I hope this leans more towards the dark side because they definitely are very good storytellers over at Deep Silver. And yeah, it looked cool. For me, her story is interesting, but I'm just really yearning for a good space simulation game where I fly around in a ship. I feel like I haven't had one of those in a really long time.
What was the last one you had?
Well, that you probably never heard of Star Citizen. It's a PC game that has been in development now for about 10 years. That's one that I really, really wanted to get into, but it never necessarily took off. Prior to that, man, I'd really have to think back. It'd have to be one of those free PlayStation games. I remember thinking No Man's Sky might scratch that itch, and I never really got into that game either. So I think just the idea of flying around in a spaceship, going to different planets, I really feel like this game looks like it would fulfill that role, even if you never get out of the ship, which I don't know if you do or not.
Did you never try the Outer Worlds?
I played the Outer Worlds. I don't know. I didn't like it.
Same
I,
here, dude. I got I
I
got
thought
6 hours. I got
I
six
thought you
hours
were
in.
going to yell at me.
No, 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 no. I was so expecting this because the same people that helped put together Fallout New Vegas helped work on this game,
Right.
and I was so excited. I really was, and I got 6 hours into it, and you know what? I'm
Oh, you
thinking,
beat me.
I don't care. I don't care what's going on. I don't care about these people's plight. I'm out $60, and that's the only thing I care about here.
I was fortunate enough that I tried it on Game Pass, so I feel like I didn't get taken to the cleaners.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
The other one I was thinking of was drawn a blank was called Elite Dangerous. I don't know if you've heard of Elite Dangerous, but that was another game where you fly around in a starship. You never get out of the starship, but you fly around to different planets and take on missions and stuff like that.
I want like a Grand Theft Auto or a Saints Row in space. That's what I want.
Our friends at Bethesda, that's what they're supposed to be working on. I guess we're gonna have to wait until 2090 to find out.
What is that called? Starfield or Star
Star,
something?
yeah, Starfield.
Is that going to be a launch title
We
for
don't know
Series
when.
X?
No, it's not. They say it will be coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. We have yet to see a release date. We have yet to see any trailers or any news on it. Considering Bethesda announced they are not going to be doing any sort of E3 presentation this year, I doubt it's going to come out this year. I'm thinking realistically probably 2022.
Okay.
I think we'll see it, and then I think we'll see Skyrim like right after or right before that. I keep saying Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 6, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So,
It's going to be called Elder Scrolls 6 Money Grab.
and I'm gonna buy it 19 fucking times, like I bought this. Yes. All right. So, in closing on this brief but very, very responsive episode, I mean, we just saw this like 6 hours ago, and we're here recording now. My question for you going forward, knowing that Microsoft is basically saying in July, we are going to show you our first party studios, which we know will include Halo. Do you think that they're going to take anybody's critical feedback, maybe even ours, and try to change the format of the show? Or do you think they are so headstrong in their branding that this is going to be a repeat of Trailer City in 2 months?
I think that it's whatever they're planning on doing is probably too far along to change. And I don't think that when you're wielding a weapon as powerful as Halo, that you have to listen to criticism because they're going to show Halo and everyone's going to pop a chub and freak out and they're not going to care how it's presented. Yeah, yeah, me too, buddy. Me
Dude,
too.
dude,
They're
dude.
gonna pop. Everyone's gonna pop a chub, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And they're not gonna care how it's presented to them. And Microsoft knows that. They know that. They're not. I predict to just flat out answer your question. I predict no serious deviation from this presentation platform whatsoever.
I have to tell you that when they announced Halo Infinite at E3 a couple of years ago, I was sitting on the couch watching it, and I just saw I heard the opening note. It was all the. If you remember the trailer, I could replay it second by second. If you remember the trailer, there's all these animals and stuff, and it's just like you don't even see the warthog, you don't see any soldiers, you just see it looks like forest. And they played one note from the Halo riff, the dun dun dun. I heard the one note, and I stood up and I was screaming, "It's Halo! It's fucking Halo! It's fucking Halo!" And it was Halo, and I was like, yeah, Microsoft won, Microsoft won. Like, I was so geeked out over it. So I think, in a sense, you're right. But the logical part of me that is now years away from that, and even thinking, a couple hours after this event went on and being more critical of it as time goes on, you really hope they change their format a little bit because it was kind of boring.
Not only was it boring, it's just the people who spoke weren't very engaging, and the people who did look like real people, who were the developers, you could tell that they thought that this was super lame because they weren't engaged at all. You could like see it on their faces, especially the guy from Sega. The guy from Sega is like, "Why? This is fucking stupid. Why am I here?"
Did you see the guy that had the kill me sign holding it up in the background? So
Uh,
the guy, I don't remember was it the Sega guy? The guy that had he was wearing a surgeon's mask like around his chin, like he pulled it down just to talk.
that was the Sega guy.
Oh, he was okay. It's so creepy. Big
Yeah.
fake teeth and just like take your fucking like you can spend a minute to take your mask. It's like, oh, I'm so bothered. All right, we're making a game. And this was afterward.
It's me from Sega. We made this.
All right. And before we wrap this episode up, in closing, is there anything else we need to say about this, or do you feel like you've said your piece?
I feel like much like war, this presentation's never going to change, buddy.
Look at this. What a classic wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider commenting, rating, subscribing, all those wonderful things, and we'll see you again next week. All right. Very good, Phil.